Hi guys. Okay, so we're going to see how this goes. I am locked and barricaded in my daughter's room because they keep trying to search me out so that they can be on the video too. So I'm going to try to get this done as quick as I can before they interrupt. Remember, the book bloom is next Thursday. It's the 29th. It's at 6:30. There's going to be tons of events there. I really hope you guys come out. It's definitely one of the coolest events we have at the school. I have 3 different stories to tell you about tonight. I'm going to start with, really, I think probably the movie this year that completely blew me away. And it was the very first time in my life that I watched a movie and then decided to go read the book. But I went to see the movie Lone Survivor. And I would not consider myself somebody who, cries a lot, but I sobbed for 2 days after I saw the movie. This story about Marcus Luttrell, and it is a true story. This is written by him with help from Patrick Robinson. Is his story. He is was a Navy SEAL, and he and a team of 3 other guys, 3 of his brothers, as they call them, had a recon mission in Afghanistan, basically meaning that they were supposed to go into the mountains, and while there they needed to look down on this village where some of a terrorist cell was, and they had to kind of scope out one of the leaders that was there that they were looking to kind of take out. They realize when they get there 2 things. First is that the army that's in the village is way bigger than they thought it was. And then second, they realize that they're having trouble communicating back to the base for when they need to be picked up. So they decide that they're going to kind of settle in and wait it out and figure out what to do in the morning. And oddly enough, a goat herder with a whole bunch of goats comes upon them. He almost steps directly on Marcus because they're hiding in trees and it's all rocky, and he kind of jumps down from this rock and he almost hits directly into Marcus. And so they have no choice but to come out of hiding. Well, the United States has a rule. It's a rule of war that you can't kill an unarmed citizen. So the men all knew that this goat herder was going to go down to the village and give them away. But they couldn't hurt him. And they decided that they just needed to cut him loose because he was a civilian and he wasn't armed. So they did. And the goat herder goes down to the village and tells the terrorist cell that the men are up there. And then he and his 3 friends are basically in the fight of their lives. This story is a story of one of the largest loss in Navy SEAL history. The movie is absolutely phenomenal, and it's very rare that I say that about a movie and a book. But the movie and the book are both fantastic. And I don't think this is a book just for guys. Even though I know a lot of guys will like it, I know you enjoy kind of like the war and the battle and that kind of stuff, and this is just all action the whole way through. But this is also a fantastic story about brotherhood and friendship and how deep that runs. I loved this book. I love the movie too. I would encourage you to read it and see the movie because they're both well worth your time. So this is Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell. It is a true story. The second book I want to tell you about, there's always a couple books each year that I take a risk getting, where I'm like, oh, I didn't read it yet, but the reviews are really fantastic, and I'm kind of not sure. But there's this one lady that I just trust implicitly. She just always gives me the best selections, and she's always ended up showing me books that I end up getting for you well before they become big. For instance, last year at the Book Bloom, we gave away The Fault in Our Stars. And you guys all had it in your hands well over a year before this really blew up and became something big. So I really trust her opinion, but I don't always know that it's going to work out. Well, I read Nil, and I really fell in love with it. I was not expecting to, but I loved it a lot more than I thought I would. Nil is by a woman named Lynne Matson. This is her debut in YA Lit, which is young adult literature, literature that's for teens. And what it says is, on the mysterious island of Nil, the rules are set. You have 1 year, exactly 365 days to escape or you die. 17-year-old Charlie doesn't know the rules. She doesn't even know where she is. The last thing she remembers is blacking out, and when she wakes up, she's lying naked in an empty rock field. Lost and alone, Charlie can find no signs of other people until she meets Thad, the leader of a clan of teenage refugees. Soon, Charlie learns that leaving the island is harder than she thought. With Thad's time running out, Charlie realizes that to save their future, Charlie must first save him. And on an island rife with hidden dangers, their greatest threat is time. So the story's got this really cool premise that they're like, these kids wake up on this island, they don't know how they got there, and they have 365 days to catch a gate. And it explains to you in here exactly what a gate is. But the book is really cool. The characters are interesting. It's really plot-driven, meaning it just keeps going. I started this, I don't know, a month or so ago at 9 o'clock at night, and I ended up staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning to finish it because it was just one of those books that I couldn't put down. I really think you'll like this. It's a cool choice. It's different. It's really interesting. It's called Nil by Lynne Matson. Then the last book I'm going to tell you about, this has been a must-read book on basically every book list you get your hands on this year. Look up must-read books for 2014. This, I promise you, will be on it. This is by an up-and-coming writer named Rainbow Rowell. She's written The Attachments. She wrote Fangirl. But this is by far her most popular book. The other ones are good too, but this is definitely my favorite. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's won a ton of different awards. Every author is talking about this book. Every teacher is talking about this book. Every person I meet has said to me, "Oh, you teach 9th grade? You should get Eleanor and Park. It's so good." Well, I already had it because I had seen it on all the lists, and I read it and fell totally in love with these characters. It is a little bit of a Romeo and Juliet story. Not in the way that like everybody dies at the end, but in the way that it's two people that shouldn't be together. Two people in this school that you just wouldn't expect would end up together. But somehow they managed to find each other in all of the like bog and mire and yuck that holds you down to who you think you have to be in high school. They managed to get out of that and find each other instead. It's absolutely a love story, but I don't think it's a love story just for a girl. It is romantic and it's beautiful, but it's also awkward and totally punk rock, and I loved everything about it. The writing is fantastic. Eleanor is so interesting, and Park is such a cool guy, so different, and they kind of tell their story through comics and music and love, but in a cool, cool way. It says on the inside, the first chapter says, he'd stopped trying to bring her back. She only came back when she felt like it, in dreams and lies and broken down deja vu. Like, he'd be driving to work, and he'd see a girl with red hair standing on the corner, and he'd swear for half a choking moment that it was her. Then he'd see that the girl's hair was more blonde than red, and that she was holding a cigarette and wearing a Sex Pistols t-shirt. Eleanor hated the Sex Pistols. Eleanor, standing behind him until he turned his head, lying next to him just before he woke up, making everyone else seem drabber and flatter and never good enough. Eleanor ruining everything. Eleanor gone. He'd stopped trying to bring her back. It says, set over the course of one school year, this is the story of two star-crossed 16-year-olds, smart enough to know that first love almost never lasts, but brave and desperate enough to try. So this is an extraordinary story. I absolutely fell in love with these characters. I fell in love with the book. There's a reason why this book is on every must-read book list. It's called Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. And those are our 3 books for today. I will be back tomorrow with 2 or 3 more. I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to decide. But I will see you then. Bye.